So on this video, I want to talk about a concept called the beginner mindset. So when you're coming to a class, let's say it's a class that you've been to before, or the content within the class is something that you've learned before, you have prior knowledge. Some people could go into that situation thinking that they already know everything that there is to know about this topic. So at that point, they'll then close their minds off to learning anything that could be remotely new, or just having a different spin on it, or looking at it with a different angle. And that's really what focusing on a beginner mindset does for you. It allows you to take something that you've already learned and you continue to just try to find a new way to make another connection to it, all right? So you get this deeper, richer understanding of, in our case, of all the patterns and all the exercises that we're doing. Now, I used to deal with a lot of problems with my wrist due to the fact that I played a lot of guitar, so that made me develop a little bit of carpal tunnel. Also, I did a lot of things just like crawling around on my hands and handstands, and I never did the proper conditioning that I should have been doing the whole time. And as a result, I was feeling things, like I said, the carpal tunnel, I was feeling pain in my elbow. So that's, in a sense, what led me towards more of a movement direction with my exercising, because I was doing primarily strength training as well as martial arts and in other various forms, but I wasn't doing enough of the conditioning aspect, and especially with all the areas that are commonly neglected with the human body. I'm talking about, your wrist and our spine, even deep squat work. I wasn't doing any deep squat work back then. So anyways, I learned about movement training through Ido Portal, watching things on the internet. It basically flipped the switch in my mind, and I had the paradigm shift, as they say. And I learned about incorporating the beginner mindset. And when I learn about these concepts, I think at this point, that I take this stuff pretty seriously. I'm hardcore about this. And when you come to my classes, or if you watch my content, you can just understand, and you can probably feel the passion, because I do have passion to deliver this information to everybody, to help people out. So anyways, I started learning as much as I could, and I kept that beginner mindset. And more specifically, with the wrist conditioning, I have been doing the 6-point wrist prep for a really, really long time now. At this point, I've been doing it for over 3 years. And I've always kind of stuck to the same regression. So watch. Let me just set the scene. So I was at a client's house the other day, and we were talking about the beginner mindset, and we were going through our 6-point wrist prep. So we were doing all the positions, starting with palms down, neutral, and then external rotation, and then internal rotation, taking our time, stretching out, doing our thing. And then we get to flexion of the wrist, where the top of the hands were down. And I was just talking to him about beginner mindset. I'm like, yeah, you come up, you do the work, and you stay humble. And I've been focusing so long about this whole beginner mindset, I actually never really even tested myself out in this position. I always just did a variation that was, it stimulated my wrist, but I didn't want to get too greedy. I know that it takes 3 times as long for this adaptation to occur, because we're trying to make white tissue change in the body. So that gets a lot less blood. So that means it takes a lot longer to create adaptation. So for years, I'm here. I'm doing this. I'm like, yeah, man, beginner mindset. I'm making different connections as I go. I'm like, oh, I can do spinal movements, or, sometimes we can retract the shoulders and protract. So, I learned a lot of stuff through that time, but all of a sudden, to my client, I said, well, and eventually you will be able to do your fin push-ups in a plank position. And then all of a sudden I just got up in the plank, and I'm like, whoa. And then I'm like, whoa. And then I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, I can actually do this. And it's not even that much of a problem. But with that being said, I took my time to get to that point. It was the beginner mindset that kept me humble, and that kept me patient. And it was the beginner mindset that kept me on track. And a byproduct of doing all the work and keeping that beginner mindset, well, you just saw the byproduct of it. That's adaptation right there. So I couldn't do that with my wrists when I first started. My wrists were in pain. Now, every day, I don't even really think about my wrists. Well, I do think about them because I condition them every day. But the pain isn't there. That's what I'm saying. So watch the video that's on the screen if you want to learn more concepts like this. As always, this is Mini Movement Man saying be kind to one another and move well. Peace.